Good morning. My name is Muhammad Habba, and I am here today with AJP Action for our 11th annual Palestine Advocacy Days. Today we have hundreds of Americans from all over the country participating with us as we stand here in support of Palestinian rights, lobbying our elected officials. To begin today, our first speaker is the Executive Director of American Muslims for Palestine and AJP Action, Dr. Osama Abu Rashed.
Thank you, Muhammad. Good morning. Today marks the 10th day since the ceasefire agreement brokered by the Trump administration took effect in the Gaza Strip. Since then, Israel has made its intentions unmistakably clear. Its genocidal campaign it has waged in the Gaza Strip for the past 2 years is far from over. So far, 986 aid trucks have entered Gaza out of total 6,600 aid trucks. 87 people have been murdered by Israel in the past 10 days. Again, I want to remind us that we are supposedly in the middle of a ceasefire. 87 civilians have been murdered by Israel, including children and women. 311 were injured. Settlers' militias have increased their attacks in the West Bank. And yet, our own government, our own administration, the Trump administration, still continues to serve as an apologist and as an enabler of the Israeli crimes against the Palestinian people. It still places the burden of the ceasefire on the shoulders of the victims of Israel, the victims of the genocidal war, that the US has been a complete and full partner in it. We are here to call on our administration and on our Congress to prioritize America first. This is the slogan that Donald Trump have invoked. This is the slogan that Republicans claim to adhere to. Put America first. We are close to 3 weeks of a government shutdown. This Congress is not serving the American people. This Congress is dysfunctional when it comes to our national interest, when it comes to the interest of their own constituents. But this Congress comes together when it's about Israel, when it's about giving more military aid to Israel. So far in the past 2 years, we have given a minimum of $30 billion to Israel. We have provided all of the weapons. We have provided the political cover. We have provided the diplomatic cover for Israel to continue to commit its crimes. But when it comes to serving America and Americans, when it comes to serving humanity and saving human lives, this Congress is completely absent. So we are here to call on this Congress, one, to prioritize Americans, two, to prioritize the values that we claim that we adhere to, that every human being, every human life is sacred. It's not only about 18 hostages or 18 prisoners who are missing under the wreckage that was caused by Israel. There are at least 10,000 Palestinians who are buried under the wreckage in Gaza that was caused by Israel. So to hold the Palestinian hostages and to starve the Palestinians because of a crime that was perpetrated by the United States and by Israel is unacceptable. And this is something that we're not going to be silent in the face of. So we call on this Congress to stop military aid to Israel. And we call on this Congress to serve its own constituents when it comes to American teens who are being held now as hostages by Israel. Muhammad Ibrahim is a 15 years old American child who has been taken as a hostage by the Israeli government since February of this year. Despite the promises by Mike Huckabee, our ambassador in Israel, that he will work on his release, nothing has happened. Not only that Muhammad Ibrahim is being held hostage, Also, his cousin was killed back in July, was murdered by Israeli settlers. And the United States have done nothing about it. Have you ever seen Donald Trump meeting with Palestinian victims? American victims? We didn't see that. So this selective humanity is unacceptable for us. Every human being deserves to be respected as a human being. And every life is sacred and every life is equal. So if we care about the Israeli prisoners, our government also has to prioritize 11,000 Palestinian prisoners, many of whom are American citizens. And if we care about people who are buried under the wreckage, which they have every right to deserve, every right to have appropriate burial, as such, every Palestinian human being deserves to be treated in the same way. Also, we call on this Congress not to allow and not to tolerate any transgression against our First Amendment rights. We have a right as Americans to speak out and to speak up and to speak truth to power and to condemn and to protest the misguided policies by our government. We have every right to speak our minds. We have every right to meet with our elected officials. We have every right to assemble. And we have every right for free speech. But Zionists in this country wants to corrupt our democracy. They're going after educational institutions, accusing them of anti-Semitism, while our own educational institutions have gone after free speech of the solidarity movement for Palestine, the movement against genocide. We're not here speaking for any foreign entity. In fact, we are speaking as Americans. Those who accuse us, those who are lying about us, those who are trying to defame us and accuse us of being a foreign extension, in fact, it is them who are foreign extensions. I mean, it was broadcasted live when Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, the war criminal who is wanted by ICC, it was on live TV when he met with American influencers going after our First Amendment in America and hiring them $7,000 per post and per tweet. We're not being paid $7,000 to be here. We're not being told by any foreign entity to be here. We're not working on behalf of anyone except the common good, except the Palestinian victims, except human decency, except the American people, and accept our own rights to speak up and to stand up for what we believe in. And we will not allow this administration or any other administration to infringe on our First Amendment, to infringe on our rights, or to question our citizenship, or to question what we stand for. We're not going to accept that. We're not going to be deterred, and we're not going to accept and allow the Zionist lobby and its allies who put Israel first to corrupt and to poison our democracy and to infringe on our rights and to deter us from standing up to their oppression, to their repression, to their mischief. We're going to stand up for what we believe in. And yes, we believe that eventually we will win this battle in America, because now we see that the tide has shifted. We see what the public opinion polls are saying. We see that the majority of Americans are more sympathetic with Palestinians as opposed to Israel. We see that the majority of Americans have an unfavorable view of Israel. And we see that the dam is cracking in this country when it comes to complicity and to this partnership in crimes, because it's being done in our name, but the American people have spoken up now and says no more in our name. We're not going to tolerate this, and we will bring this to an end. Thank you.
As I mentioned, almost 700 Americans from around the country are joining us today for our 11th annual Palestine Advocacy Days. We are here today to call for an end to U.S. aid to Israel, to publicly oppose the displacement of Palestinians through the Israeli and Trump illegal annexation plans, to demand justice for Americans who have been kidnapped, who have been killed and injured by Israel, like the 16-year-old Muhammad Ibrahim, to publicly oppose the Israeli-sponsored assault on our First Amendment rights, and to restore American funding and assistance to the UN and other international humanitarian programs for Gaza. Our next speaker is a Chicago native, an activist who has family in Gaza, Diana Uthman.
Excuse me. Good morning, everyone. My name is Diana Uthman. I'm a Palestinian American from Illinois, and I have my husband's family living in Gaza right now. And for the past 2 years, Palestinians have endured one of the most horrific live-streamed genocidal campaigns in modern history, carried out with full American complicity. More than 70,000 Palestinians have been killed, and this is a modest estimate. Other estimates of over 500,000 Palestinians killed, tens of thousands wounded, and millions left starved and homeless in a man-made famine. This is a stain on the conscience of humanity and a moral disgrace that nothing can erase. For over a century, the Palestinian people have endured injustice, oppression, dispossession, occupation, displacement, and now genocide. It is long overdue for the Palestinian people to reclaim their full national and human rights. It is long overdue for the world to stop ignoring Palestinian suffering. And it is far overdue for the United States to end its complicity in Israel's crimes and finally stand on the side of justice and humanity. We are here to say that we will not rest until liberation. We call on our elected officials to support an end to military aid to Israel and publicly oppose the displacement of Palestinians and Israel/Trump's annexation plans. We support the sanctioning of Israeli settlers who have kidnapped and killed Palestinians and continue to brutalize villages in the West Bank. We ask them to publicly oppose the Israeli-sponsored assault on our First Amendment rights, whether on college campuses or in the streets. And we call on them to take action to restore funding to UNRWA to allow aid to enter Gaza on a regular basis. Our families have been let down time and time again by these false promises of peace, and we remain deeply concerned about Israel's tactics and the deceptive maneuvers of Prime Minister Netanyahu. His government has shown time and time again that the priority is not peace, the priority is not justice. It was the return of Israeli prisoners, followed by the resumption of genocidal warfare against the people of Gaza. Nearly 100 Palestinians have been killed since the ceasefire has came into effect. And genocide in smaller incremental doses is still genocide. We are here to demand that our elected officials serve their own constituents, not a foreign entity. We call on them to carry out their duties, not just as Americans, but as human beings against genocide. Thank you.
Our next speaker is a Palestinian American from the state of Florida who is the uncle of the murdered young American Saif, as well as the uncle of the kidnapped and imprisoned young child Muhammad Ibrahim Ziad Qadur.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu
Alaikum.
I don't have anything prepared. I'm going to talk to you from my heart. The same way we've been talking for the last 8 months. I was here less than a month ago on this very hill advocating for Muhammad. It's a shame that I have to come back. It's a shame that Muhammad's there in the first place and that we have to come back and keep speaking about Muhammad still in prison. But I'm going to mention a few names to you. Rachel Corey, Aisha Noor, Tawfiq Abdul Jabbar, Saifullah Musalat, Muhammad Abu Khair, many more names. These are all Americans who've been killed in the West Bank. Shireen Abu Akleh. There's many, many names. It's not random. This is becoming more of a system or a message that if you're American and you're Palestinian and you're in the West Bank, that you're a target. Muhammad is still alive. We can do something to bring him home, where Muhammad doesn't join the list of names that I just mentioned to you. The building behind us and the buildings around us are in a government shutdown. They can't agree on what's best for the American people. We shouldn't be surprised. They can't even agree on how to get a 15-year-old child who's now 16, turned 16 in prison. They can't agree to stand up for him and bring him home, let alone the rest of the American people. During this shutdown, it's a big shame. And I don't think there's any fear of God or shame on themselves to do something about this. Somebody needs to step up. We're asking the president, we're asking Marco Rubio, we're asking all of our elected officials to do something for Muhammad. I don't want to come back here in a month or next year and talk to you about who Muhammad was in the past tense, like the Americans I mentioned in the beginning. We can still bring him home. We can still do it with the help of everybody here. We thank you all on behalf of the family. We thank you all on behalf of Palestine. Muhammad is just a drop in the ocean compared to all the other children in Palestine going through the same exact thing. And it shouldn't matter if he's American. It shouldn't matter if he's Palestinian. It should just matter that he's human. You know, they open up the conversation about America first. You know, it should be humanitarian aid first, human life first. You know, we shouldn't be divided by politics, by lobbyists who support Israel or, you know, other countries. Let's get Muhammad home. Let's make an example of what we can do together. And inshallah, we'll come back and have Muhammad standing with us and show you what your work has done. Jazakum Allah khair.
As we mentioned, almost 700 Americans from coast to coast, from Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Florida, all the way to California, Oregon, Hawaii, are here today to stand for Muhammad Ibrahim and stand for the Palestinian people. Our next speaker is a longtime advocate and the co-founder of Code Pink, Medea Benjamin.
I'm so proud to stand with you all today on this beautiful day and looking at our beautiful Capitol. And I would like to feel proud of the Capitol. I would like to feel proud of my government. But I can't help looking at that beautiful dome and seeing it dripping in blood. I can't help looking at that beautiful dome and seeing the apocalyptic view of what Gaza is today. I can't help looking at that dome and thinking of the children without arms and without legs in Gaza. Thinking of people that are still going hungry despite a ceasefire that was supposed to let in 600 trucks every day and has been violated every single day by Israel. I can't feel proud of looking at that dome and thinking how unrepresentative our government is of the will and the desires of the American people who have seen through the propaganda and now are much more sympathetic towards the Palestinians than they are to Israel, who don't want to spend any more of our tax dollars going to Israel. So you have to ask, what kind of democracy do we have that we're trying to impose all over the world when the will of the people is so violated by the institutions that are supposed to represent us? And I can't help looking at this dome here without thinking of the lobby groups like AIPAC, the groups like Christians United for Israel, fanatical Zionists, that say that God says that we should be destroying the lives of Palestinians? What kind of God is that? And the AIPAC group, I am a Jewish American, and it hurts me so much to know that so many of the people in AIPAC say they are doing it for the safety of the Jews, when this is not for the safety of the Jews. I certainly feel less safe in these last 2 years of genocide than I felt before that. And so when I look around at you, I see the real America here that's trying to bridge this gap between what we, the American people, want and what our government is doing. And that's why it's so important that you're here today, especially the young people, because when we see these opinion polls, it's not just Democrats, who, by the way, 82% of Democrats don't support what Israel is doing in Gaza. 82%. That means that there should only be a tiny fraction of Democrats supporting Israel, and that's not the case. But when it comes to young people, even among Republicans, we now see that half of Republican young people don't want to keep supporting Israel. And that is a sea change. And that's why we're seeing people like 2 of your representatives in North Carolina who said they're not going to take AIPAC money anymore. They're not pro-Palestinian. They know which way the wind is blowing. 1 Republican from Kentucky said he's not going to take AIPAC money. And most recently, we see Seth Moulton, a Democrat from Massachusetts who has not been pro-Palestinian. He's running for Senate now, and he understands that it's in his interest to say he's not going to take AIPAC money. He even said he's going to give back the checks that AIPAC has given him. And that's because of you.
That's right.
That's because the lobbying that you are doing. That's because the phone calls you have been making, the visits you have been doing. So let's go with our heads held high today, knowing we represent not only the vast majority of people in this country, but the vast majority of people in the world. We don't want to see one more dime go to Israel. We don't want to see one more bomb sent to Israel. We don't want to see one more settler beaten to death in the West Bank. And we certainly want to see Mohammed Ibrahim come home. And we want to see the thousands of prisoners that are still being held in Israel freed. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us. Once again, as AJP Action, we are here today for our 11th annual Palestine Advocacy Days, where we are calling for an end to U.S. aid to Israel, publicly opposing the displacement of Palestinians through the Israeli Trump illegal annexation plans, demanding justice for Americans who have been killed, who have been kidnapped, who have been injured by Israel, like Mohammed Ibrahim, publicly opposing the Israeli-sponsored assault on our First Amendment rights, and restoring American funding to the UNRWA agency and other agencies that are helping aid the people of Gaza. We are not here in a vacuum. We represent the broad American public. Thank you all for joining us today.